let's share our deck. Share our deck and we can get started. So 1 second. And yeah, I think we are on. So again, thank you very much, Katie, for the intro. We will be covering today a lot of information. We'll focus on simplifying centralized policy management and how to elevating network visibility with Tufin and Prisma Access integration. As you introduced us, my name is Erez Tadmor. I'm working at Tufin for more than 7 years now, network security evangelist and product marketing director. And I will let Pratista to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pratishtha. I have been at Palo Alto Networks for a little over 4 years now, worked across a bunch of different security products. And right now I am a product manager on the Prisma Access team. Very excited to be here.
Okay, great. So as we said, we have lots of information to cover, and we'll start with covering how customers, how users of ours could achieve zero trust with Prisma Access. Pratista will cover that part. Then we'll deep dive into security policy management with Tufin. For all of you who doesn't know about Tufin or want to know more about Tufin, I will cover that part, and we'll then get to the a part where I explain how Tufin and Palo Alto Networks work together to provide a very strong partnership for the benefit of our users. And then we'll deep dive into multiple use cases that could be covered as part of Tufin Orchestration Suite and integrations with Prisma Access through different areas of visibility, compliance, and of course, security policy automation. We'll also touch some of the upcoming releases that we're planning here at Tufin. And of course, we'll finish up with a Q&A. So without further ado, let's start, and I will hand it over to Pratista.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. So like Erez mentioned, for the next few minutes, let's talk about, I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing about the word SASE, and let's talk about why is it really becoming a hot topic? How can Prisma Access really help you achieve those use cases? So can you move to the next slide, Erez? Yeah. So let's talk about some shifts that, like the world we used to live in previously versus the world we live in now. What are some key shifts that we are seeing, which is really pushing our customers to think about how do we secure access to our applications today. So one of the key trends that I'm sure all of us are aware of is after COVID, we have seen that a lot of the work offices are allowing employees to work from office, but also to work from home, or even let's say a Starbucks or a coffee shop. So really, one of the growing trends is that hybrid workforce is here to stay. Like it's not going anywhere, and a lot of the companies that we see are becoming okay with the model of having users everywhere. It doesn't have to be just office, but every single place could be. There's no work perimeter anymore. The second trend that is coming up is digital transformation is accelerating. What this means is a lot of the companies that were on legacy infrastructures are now moving to the cloud. And like you can see here, 78% of the CFOs say they will increase their digital investments going forward. And lastly, again, all of us have heard of the buzzword with AI. AI has always been around us, but with the LLMs coming into the picture, there's a lot more focus and it's front and center in terms of now there's all this data. How do we secure the access to that data, be it what goes into the LLM or what powers the LLM from the backend, the models itself? How do we secure all of this? And there's so much more data to be secured when we think about securing the overall enterprise. What this means is what the infrastructure or the network that we had 10 years ago and how we used to solve that will not be fit for today's challenges. Today, we face a whole new set of challenges based on the trends we just talked about. And this is where Prisma Access comes in. With the next era for secure access with ZTNA 2.0. ZTNA stands for Zero Trust Network Access. And we've coined the term ZTNA 2.0, which is basically a paradigm shift from how Zero Trust was done before. This goes way beyond just using an access broker in between, and ensures the best security outcomes. So now let's talk about the 3 key pillars in what Prisma Access is able to bring to the table. So the first pillar is ZTNA 2.0. This is where I will talk about the security and how we secure access for your users to wherever they're connecting. Second is best user experience. How do we offer that within our platform? And thirdly, why do we call it a unified product? Like, what all do you get in Prisma Access in a unified platform? So let's dive deep into that. So let's first cover ZTNA 2.0. So if you see on the screen, what you're seeing essentially is on the left, there's a hybrid worker. The worker could be like working from anywhere, from the airport, the office, the branch, home, etc. The end goal is for us, for the hybrid worker, irrespective of where they're logging in from, to irrespective of where they're logging into. So on the right, you see a list of applications. Our job with Prisma Access is to provide least privilege access while ensuring we meet the ZTNA 2.0 principles. What this means is we will ensure that irrespective of wherever a user is connecting from, to any SaaS application, private application, internet application, Prisma Access will come in between and offer the most secure connection. Now, how we do this is, I will bring your attention to the 2 circles that you're seeing in the diagram. So let's start with the first one. The first circle on the top talks about continuous trust verification. So we continuously verify the trust for users, for device and application. And this allows us to ensure that we only allow what we think is benign on the network. Secondly, if you see the bottom circle, you'll see that while we do that, we also make sure that all the traffic that is going from your users to your applications is continuously inspected from a security standpoint, using all our advanced configuration subscriptions like advanced threat prevention, advanced URL filtering, DNS, wildfire, etc. So the infinity loop here, but what I have to call it is the infinity loop here of continuous trust verification and continuous security inspection is what makes this solution really powerful to stop zero-day threats, to provide you the most secure access for your users. Moving on. Let's talk about best user experience. So Prisma Access delivers the best user experience in the industry. We have a really high uptime of the 5 nines, a very low latency. And lastly, we are the only vendor in the market that is guaranteeing a performance SLA for SaaS applications. What that means is we, as Prisma Access, are able to say, hey, Mr. Customer, this is the SLA that you can expect for these top SaaS applications. And we abide by those, which means we are so confident that we can perform and provide that kind of throughput and latency from our end. Moving on. Now, you may ask, how do we do so? So basically, if you click on the slide, Aris, thanks. Yeah, basically, we provide a very massively distributed cloud scale architecture. We can truly scale. And the reason we are able to do this is we use the backbone of Google Cloud and AWS to be present all across the globe. So we have locations all across the globe, and we are able to truly scale whenever your business needs it. Another thing that we ensure is for all our customers, we offer isolated tenants and isolated data planes, which means that it's even more secure and you're not sharing your data plane with any other customers. So this ensures the best security outcomes. Lastly, moving on to unified product. So unification is a key theme in the cybersecurity industry today. We all know there are a bunch of different disparate products that don't work well together, and Prisma Access solves that problem. We deliver a unified security product. It helps us with the best prevention, detection, and remediation. Next slide, please. So if you look at the SASE market, what you will typically see is there are a lot of vendors offering a lot of point products like ZTNA products, SWG product, SWG, SWG, Secure Web Gateway, CASB products, firewall products. And when you bring all of these different products into your environment, there's obviously a lot of operational complexity with managing the fragmented policies, the data, etc., etc. But what Prisma Access really is able to do here is, next slide, please, It's able to offer all of this in one single unified platform, and that's the power. So you can imagine all of these different products in one platform, which means unified management, unified policy, and also unified data. What this ensures is very less complexity in terms of operational overhead, and it allows you to achieve superior security outcomes. Lastly, moving on to the next slide. It wouldn't be complete if I don't tell you all that we are the only vendor in the leadership position in the single vendor SASE, in the SSE, and in the SD-WAN quadrant. The reason to call this out is SASE is a combination of an SSE product and an SD-WAN product. And while we provide a superior SASE offering, the individual components as well, we are leaders in all three segments. And this is why, moving on to the last slide, this is why Prisma Access can help you achieve true ZTNA 2.0 for your company. I will now hand it over to Erez. Feel free to put any questions that are for me in the chat, and I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, and I see that the question is starting to pile up, so
Okay.
you may want to look at it. I think there are great questions coming in, and thank you, Pratista, for taking us through what has changed and how the network has evolved over the years, and how Prisma Access, with its great solution, addresses and help customers to achieve both security and networking in the same product. So thank you for that. And what I want to do next is to move into covering what Tufin does in that world and how we complement Prisma Access and other tools as part of our orchestration suite. And then we'll get to the use case section. So I will start with, as Pratista alluded, before the pandemic, what we see today was the hub, basically. What you see, the hub in the center of the slide here, was not in the cloud. It was part of the data center. It was literally adjunct to the data center, and the perimeter was protecting data center. And what happens post the pandemic is that this entire hub, where you manage your security, shared services, ingress and egress of data, has moved into the internet, which made it into a SASE solution. This is what we're talking about. And what you're seeing here is a typical abstraction of a global enterprise network, where the data center is yet another edge that is connected to the hub via dedicated connections, so express routes, direct connects, and etc. Branches are connected to the data center and cloud using different SD-WAN and SASE solutions. How does this shift impact the network security administrators? You actually, the guys that listen to this webinar, they have more to watch. You have much more complexity. You have much more attack surface to cover, and of course, all of that with different and disparate technologies. So we mentioned SASE. It's just one of the technologies that you need to cover. We have all the technologies that protect the on-premises, and we have all the technologies that are supposed to protect also the cloud, whether they're coming from the vendors like Palo Alto, but also coming from the cloud native environment themselves, like security groups or network security groups if you're using Azure or Google VPC. So all of these technologies has created the situation that we have more to protect. The attack surface has increased, and we need to do that with different types of technologies. And that obviously a challenge that is becoming more and more significant over the years. And maybe just to cover another point here before moving to the next slide, all of these technologies have created a situation where network security are not the only teams now that apply security. And new teams have been established because the security, especially in the cloud, has started to become baked more into the pipeline. So teams like cloud security teams, DevOps, DevSecOps, all of these guys are also now part of the security stack and also applying security around different assets that are supposed to be protected. So for example, when you use a CI/CD pipeline, you may want to apply to the VM that you're spinning up a security group that needs to protect it. So that created not only a disparity of technologies, but also multiple teams that are currently supposed to work together, but frankly working in silos. And I will dive into why this has happened. So let's think about what the missions of each persona that we're dealing now today in the world where the cloud has emerged. So the network security team's mission is to first and foremost enable access and do it securely, anywhere, not just on premises, but anywhere in your security stack. Network security teams need to help you to enable access in a secured way. As we've seen earlier, all the more after the pandemic, the enterprise network is far beyond the premises. Users who need access to applications will not do so from the office in most of the cases. Now, both me and Pratista, I think Pratista as well, are working from home. I'm sitting in my office and Pratista sitting in her office, and I'm not in the office currently. So the security controls have shifted and being managed much in the hub. Protect the corporate data network. Of course, the data is also everywhere, not just the users. The data is also sitting as everywhere. And as we know, the corporate data is no longer just inside the data center, it's everywhere since the applications are running everywhere. And yes, part of the corporate data stays in the data center, especially data that you want to protect the most. So think about PCI information, PII information. A lot of the organizations, especially the ones that we are working with, which are the global 1000, the global 2000 organizations, keeping data that needs to be, or critical data that needs to be highly secured in the data centers. Sometimes it's from legacy kind of our perspective. It's hard to move this type of data to the cloud, and sometimes it's because of security and the field that you have more control around the data when it sits in the data center. So there is a need to apply access not just inside the silo, not just inside the cloud or inside the data center, but between these two worlds. And when you need to apply access between these two worlds, you need to involve multiple teams. You need to involve both the network security teams, but also the cloud ops or the DevOps or the DevSecOps that should help you to enable the access there. Of course, identity and mitigate threats. That's another goal or another mission that the network security teams have. And of course, last but not least, and I know this is always a burden, but we have to keep this up and running, ensuring compliance is always met, especially, again, if you're a global enterprise, if you are a financial institution, if you're healthcare, if you're retail, you have various compliance mandates that you need to adhere with, if it's PCI DSS or HIPAA or SOX or ISO 27001 and so forth. All of them need to be kept while you're enabling this access. And this is a tough work. This is really challenging, all the more when you have so many technologies that you need to keep up and running. That's the network security teams. Now let's look at the DevOps and the CloudOps mission, which is a bit different than the network security team. So the DevOps, basically, their main mission is deliver or drive more revenue and innovate. Now, push hard and create a competitive edge, creating new application faster, delivering innovation and more new stuff to the market faster. And as I said, compete more aggressively, releasing the next best feature that we can, as a business organization, that we can create in order to overcome competition, or in order to help our users to get more out of the products. Security is not always the first thing that being considered when you work in that type of mentality, when you work in that type of pressure. And but security is part of that deal, and security still needs to be applied when you create applications, when you deliver fast. And indeed, as I mentioned at the beginning, the DevOps and the DevSecOps have gotten the option to apply security into the different services, into the different deployments that they are running, in a form of either changing firewalls that deployed in the cloud, or working with other types of technologies like security groups or network security groups that needs to be applied on the VMs that they spin up and spin down on a regular basis. So that basically creates a bit of a contradiction. So it's like two different vectors that pulling around to different directions, and it's really hard to keep up with all these balls up in the air. And what the result of this divide, the result of this siloed approach between DevOps and NetSecOps is a couple. So the divide creates big challenges around network security teams and lots of frustration. Let's go over some of the challenges. The first one is a slower cloud. Let me pull up all the icons here. The first one is slower cloud. Companies embrace the cloud and DevOps mentality to enable business faster. We just touched it. But because the demand for connectivity arise, every time there's an outage, it takes much longer time to understand where the disconnect is and how to fix it. The second, the second challenge or the second result that happens due to that silo, because of that, the trend of shadowed IT has emerged, right? And the organization become much more vulnerable for breaches because the attack surface is greater. And not just network security is in charge of security, there are also other functions that apply security, but not necessarily adhering with the network security philosophy. And when shadowed IT is created and we're increasing the attack surface, obviously operational errors happens much more often, and not mentioning the failed audits. And the fact that security is not just applied by the network security teams, the fact that it's applied by other teams make it much less audit ready. Nothing is being documented, nothing is being looked out for, nothing is being vetted too often as the network security tools that has been applied in the past. So it's becoming a wild west, like we call it. And this is a challenge that we here at Tufin, together with Palo Alto Prisma, are trying to help you to address. And our goal at the end is bringing NetSec and CloudSec together. So let's touch the challenges that we here in Tufin are aiming to solve. We want to help our organization that we're working with to recover from the lack of visibility and insights into the hybrid cloud network. This is part of the things that we at Tufin are doing. We want to help you with slow and unreliable security response. So helping you to have a better prioritization into the risks that you detect through a deep understanding of the underlying network. We want to help you with policy management complexity. And if in the past we only need to manage policy in the on-premises, now you need to apply policy on the on-premises, at the cloud, at the public cloud, at the private cloud, and in all of these areas that you now need to protect. So apply policies over there. We want to help you with regulatory compliance and audit response. We want to make sure that any change that happens in your network is always according to the compliance mandate that you want to accomplish, and that everything is fully documented and audit ready. And last but not least, we want to help you with the lack of collaboration between the silo teams. We want to bring both teams, both the security teams working together through a standardized process, and as a result, avoid all the challenges that we have just listed earlier. So getting to the benefits of using our mutual products, Panorama Managed Firewalls and Prisma Access together with Tufin, what you will get out of this type of integration is that we will help you to minimize the attack surface by flagging risky rules. We will help you to streamline audit preparation and reduce failed audits, because any change that happens, no matter if it's in Panorama Managed Firewalls, no matter if it's in your Prisma Access, and even if you're managing other type of vendors in your environment, Tufin will document and make sure that everything is fully audit ready for you. So you will just need to log into the tool and see everything that has changed. For example, I will help you with faster mean time to resolution through a robust network troubleshooting capabilities, understanding exactly what has changed before a certain outage happened is one of the key pillars that we deliver in Tufin. And as a result, help you to shorten the SLA and help you with accommodating more changes when no matter if they are just on premise or traversing the cloud and on their own premises. We will help you to reduce the SLA around these, and as a result, accommodate much more change tickets as part of your operational stack via Tufin automation. And of course, all of that by keeping compliance policy ready, by keeping your compliance policy up and running according to the compliance mandate that you need to follow. So let's deep dive into multiple use cases that could be delivered with the combination of Tufin and Prisma Access, but also Panorama managed firewalls. The way we look at things in Tufin is that Tufin's value for global and complex organization has not changed basically since it was founded. We have been founded in 2005, and throughout the years we have added, or we have provided our customers with end-to-end visibility across the entire network, with network automation and enterprise automation across the entire stack. We really like this path as it helps us and the organizations that we speak with to have a clear roadmap for improving their security and operational efficiency in a gradual manner. And more importantly, we deliver the same exact value in each and every in each and every part of that operational stack. So you will expect to see end-to-end visibility at the beginning, but once you move into the network automation part, once you move into secure change, it's the visibility that you have been gotten with secure track will not vanish. It will only be amplified with the automation capabilities that we will be delivering. So let's deep dive into what you will be getting with the first pillar, the first problem that our customers are hearing or seeing is the visibility. And having the cloud is visibility and understanding the attack surface. It all comes to visualize and understanding what your attack surface is. They need to do it. They need to do it because not seeing what you need to protect obviously creates a weak spot that you need to cover. And if you're creating a weak spot, it means that sooner or later you will need to attend it and optimize and clean it up. So it becomes even more important when there is a shadow IT organization, when you have DevOps and we have cloud ops that spinning up VMs up and down on a regular basis, and they do it because they want to deliver more value to the business. But if you are not aware of it as network security teams, it's a problem. This is what considered as shadowed IT. So think about it from a user perspective. Instead of looking at different policies and vendors separately, trying to figure out what's wrong inside policies with hundreds, sometimes thousands of rules, with Tufin Secure Track, you could explore and analyze all of the security policies from a single place. You don't need to log into each and every one of them and see what has changed. You have everything in a single place, organized for you and highlighted in a way that shows you what are the issues that you need to attend. And indeed, we see that a lot of demand from our direct customers, the network security administrator, is to provide them with the same level of visibility and coverage for all the vendors that they cover. So for example, if you're a Palo Alto shop and you manage Panorama managed firewalls and you also have Prisma Access, the expectation is that we will normalize it for you and you will be able to see all the rules that you have, no matter if it's in firewalls that protects the on-premises or firewalls that or protects some assets in the cloud, or if it's a Prisma Access policy that's supposed to protect the hub. The expectation is that we will provide you with the same level of visibility as we do for all of that stack. So this is what basically we do in Secure Track. That said, we're talking about helping our users to understand what rules and controls are over-permissive or redundant. So think about it that way. You plug in your different Panorama devices or your Prisma Access to Tufin. What will happen immediately next is that Tufin will identify all the security rules that you have established over all of the equipment that you added to Tufin, and will show you exactly what out of these rules are, for example, overly permissive, what rules are redundant. For example, they might be shadowed. They might be covered with a higher rule that doesn't let the traffic that traverses that policy to get to it. So it means that you might not need this type of rule. It's just, hammering and enlarging your policy while you don't, you have a rule that nothing is going to hit it. So these are the type of things that Tufin will help you to identify and first optimize, and second, maybe to clean it up. For example, we will have an option in Tufin to mark a rule that we highlighted to you as an overly permissive and run a job that is called automatic policy generator, or in short APG. What will happen? It will analyze all the traffic that traverses in that rule, and at the end it will create a diagram that shows you how you can change that rule in order to reduce the attack surface but still deliver the same business, the same traffic that was delivered up until the point that you monitored it. So you want, create an outage for an application. So what you will accomplish with that is that you will be able to narrow down the rules, reduce the attack surface, but without jeopardizing the business, without making the business stop from working. I want to cover another very important part of what you're going to get with SecureTrack Plus, which is Tufin's first tier, and that is the ability to have policy optimization and cleanup automation. How we treat policies generally is in a process mode. So for example, when you bring up your devices into Tufin, the first thing that you should expect to do or to get from it is that we will help you to identify all the rules that are considered risky. As I mentioned earlier, it might be overly permissive rules. It might be rules which are redundant. It might be rules which are risky because they hold a certain asset or a certain service that was deemed vulnerable by a third party, for example. We will help you to identify that. How we will help you to identify that? Once you log into Tufin and you plugged in your devices, we will automatically start to show you within a dashboard all the rules that you have, all the rules that are relevant for cleanup, all the rules that are highly permissive, and all the rules that need to be changed or needs to be looked at. This is what you will see in your first screen when you log into Tufin once you plugged in your devices into Tufin. And we'll be doing it for Panorama Managed Firewall. We will be doing it for Prisma Access, as we do for all the other vendors that you may manage in your environment. And it could be other vendor, or it could be even cloud native, security rule. For example, security group that is over permissive. We will show that to you together with all the other rules that you have from Panorama or for Prisma Access. So we will help you with identification. After we identify the rules, you will want to assess them. You will want to make sure that the rules that Tufin highlighted is indeed, what it says it is, whether it's overly permissive or whether it's redundant. So what you're seeing here on the screen is a tool that we have in Tufin that is called the Rule Viewer. The Rule Viewer is basically a search engine that you could ask any type of question. Think about Jira-like. You could ask it, show me all the rules that are overly permissive, or show me all the rules that are redundant and placed in the cloud or part of this Prisma Access policy, for example. So you could literally narrow down the query into a very specific point that you are interested in, and as a result, start to dig in and start to assess whether these rules are indeed needed. Once you establish that a certain rule is not needed anymore, or you want to qualify it, or how we call it in the network security world, you want to certify it, you will be able to automate that process directly from Tufin. So we call it mitigation. What you will be able to do is basically to click on that button, choose the rule that you want to apply. It could be a single rule, it could be multiple rules, of course, and decide what you want to do with it. So for example, you could choose to certify the rule, you could choose to decommission the rule or disable it or completely remove it. You may want to just modify the rule or create a certain exception because you see that that rule is temporary, for example, and you know that it's temporary, so you could choose not to touch it, just to add a note to it that you will be looking at it at a later time. You could even set a timer that will remove the exception and will, get back to you when the time is right. You could do lots of things directly from Tufin in an automated manner. In that case, let's pick this rule and say that we want to certify it. So once you pick certify the rule, we will open up a project and we will tell you to call the project a name. For example, series certify Prisma Access redundant rules. And you need to choose a workflow to do that. You can stop multiple workflows with Tufin. You will establish a workflow and you will choose the workflow that you want to use in order to clean up or to certify the rule. Once you click open and secure change, our automation product will open up and the ticket will start to move, and will reach out to all the relevant personas that need to certify the rule. So for example, if the technical owner of the rule is someone that asked for a rule 4 months ago, it will reach out to that persona based on the input that you put in Tufin and will ask it, does this rule is still needed? Can we remove it? Should you still use it? All of this information will reach out to the technical owner. The technical owner could reply with, yes, I need it, or no, I don't need it. Everything will be documented and you will have your next steps of what to do with it. And again, this is just one example of such operation. After you automating these things and after you identified, assessed, mitigate this process, you want to track, you want to create reports, you want to see how much you accomplished over time and see that you're indeed on a trend of reducing the attack surface, reducing the amount of overly permissive rules, and reducing the amount of rules that could cause risk for your business. In order to do that, in Tufin, we provide a dashboard and different types of reports that helps you to assess how successful or not successful you have been in removing different types of rules. So for example, we have a cleanup trend widget that will show you over time. You could change the lifespan of what you're seeing here. It could be 1 week, 1 year, and so forth. And you can decide what you want to see. How many rules, for example, what you're seeing here on the screen is that look at all the fully shadowed rules that were identified and handled in Tufin over the course of time. So this is what you should expect to see. And of course, everything is very dynamic. You can click at any part of that type of widget, and it will take you to a detailed report of what exactly caused the result that you're seeing here on the screen. So to sum up this type of process, when we talk about policy optimization and cleanup automation, we are starting with the identification of the issue, assessment of the issue, mitigation, and then track and report the progress. I will move on to the next pillar, which is network automation. And it's basically how I see it is moving from the reactive mode of identifying issues that you have in your network and respond to them, to a place that you start to accommodate and automate and make much more changes under the same capacity that you run, but doing it in a much more secured manner, considering anything that you are about to change before you're making the change. So by progressing to network automation under Secure Change Plus, this is where the operational value becomes even more tangible. So take the network connectivity as a very relevant use case for our customers. Imagine this, a business application that runs in the cloud and consumes different services inside the corporate network suddenly stopped working. In the on-premises, the IT department are the first one that the administrator or the application owner will reach out to in order to resolve or to understand what happened. How come my application has stopped working? So this is something that we at Tufin, via our network intelligence, network topology intelligence map, could really help you with. You could literally have a very simple query, like from point A in my network to point B in my network. And it could be from that user to that application. I want to see if there are any connectivity issues. You will hit the search button or you hit the run button, And what we will get in return will be whether any security control along the way, like firewall or other equipment, is blocking the connectivity. And you will be able to identify that, go to that device, and see exactly what has changed from the time the device has been delivering the right traffic to the time the application has stopped working. And as a result, you will be able to fix it very quickly. Another value that you should expect to see is to have Tufin to accommodate all your change request process, or all the change request tickets within our orchestration suite. So let's take that as an example and deep dive into a sample automation process that's supposed to accommodate an access request that spans into multiple devices. And we want to focus here how a certain access request is traversing traffic between Prisma Access and other vendors and being managed by Tufin. So all the requests usually start with a request, right? So you have someone that needs access. So we open a request. It could be in ServiceNow. It could be in any other ticketing system that you may choose. We at Tufin not really care which automation system you're using for your users. Anything that uses API could seamlessly integrate into Tufin, so we could get the request from ServiceNow if you use it and process the request on our end. So for example, let's take this request as an example. We have 2 access requests. All of them are from users to applications, as you can see here on the screen. The first 2 are from ST users. The second one is from ST admins, and the third one is from all users. And the destination is a certain server or certain servers. And you want to have access to a certain application or a certain service. So for example, the first one is for web browsing application default. The second one is a protocol, is SSH protocol. And the third one is another application default service. And you also have a comment there. So someone needs access into the to a certain UI. And you could see the comments that people in our demo environment left there. And this is the reason why they need the access that they listed here. So the access has been established and a business approval has been given. You can also accommodate the business approval within Tufin and have your business approvers to approve it in Tufin. When you move into the next step, we will help you to identify all the targets, all the security controls that's supposed to be part or supposed to involve as part of this access request. So if the request that was initiated between ST users and the 10.100.200.159 over a web browser is traversing multiple security controls, for example, Prisma Access, and in that case, Cisco Firepower, we will be able to identify all of them and will highlight that these are the devices that you need to attend. These are the devices that the traffic is going to traverse into, and you will need to accommodate. And we will do that in every type of access request. So that's the first thing that will help you. And this type of operations, if you think about it from network security perspective, sometimes could take a long time because it's hard to identify all the targets that needs to be changed, especially if you're a global, large, and complex enterprise. After we identify the targets, we will help you to identify and assess whether a certain risk is going to be created, and I'm emphasizing is going to be created before you're making any changes. So what you're seeing here is that we move to step number 4, and step number 4 has highlighted, you can see it on the red box over there, that there is a risk for that access request. When you click on it, you will see that Tufin will highlight all the compliance, all the security policies that this request is going to violate if you continue with the implementation of that request. So basically, Tufin has established a segmentation policy in the first a product that we mentioned earlier in Secure Track Plus. You define what can talk to what and who can talk to you or to who. And that request that we're seeing on screen is basically contradicting that type of requirement. And it could be, just a best practice. For example, you don't want to allow any HTTP access in your organization, or it could be a regulatory compliance mandate, like you're not allowing more than 500 users to access a certain asset at a given point of time. It could be a requirement that is based on PCI DSS. It could be a requirement that is based on HIPAA. It doesn't matter. As long as you told Tufin what is the regulatory compliance mandate that you want to comply, any change going forward will always be vetted against that compliance state, and we will tell you whether what you are about to do is going to violate that type of policy. We also integrate with different vulnerability management tools in order to highlight the risk. If they're about to open access to a vulnerable server, for example, we will show it to you as well. And as a result, you will not, you will avoid basically introducing new risk into the organization before making any changes. And this is the key. This is what we talk about when we mention shift left of security. We're making the security validation before making any changes to the organization. So let's say we overcome this and we accepted the risk and we're moving forward with the implementation. Also here, Tufin and Prisma Access will work together. And what will happen here, after we cleared up the risk, after we identified that Prisma Access is one of the vendors that we need to apply changes into, Tufin will also design the change of the Prisma Access policy. Or if you are using Panorama, even if you're using next-gen firewalls components within your Panorama, we will be able to accommodate what exactly needs to be changed inside this policy, and we will suggest it to you as a recommendation of what you need to change in these policies in order to deliver the access request, and with a very specific principle in mind, the least privileged principle. So, for example, we will never open an access rule that allows any access. We will always create or suggest to create a rule that serves only the approved request that came in and was approved by the business owner of the request, no more than that and not less than that. And we also create it in light of the compliance state that you need to be in. So again, as we're doing it with other vendors, starting R23-2, which is our recent version, we're also doing it for Prisma Access and helping organizations to accommodate that as part of the change process. I will pause here and show you, we showed you lots of things here that you could accomplish with Prisma Access and Tufin. And we want to share with you a little bit of what's coming next in our tool in Tufin. And I will also let Pratista explain about Prisma Access Cloud Management support. So moving on to what's next. In early 2024, Tufin is planning to enhance our automation suite in multiple areas around Prisma Access. We're going to have full network topology support for Prisma Access. It means that when you need to troubleshoot access between point A and point B, you will also be able to see if Prisma Access policy blocks the connectivity along the way and show you exactly what security rules is blocking the connectivity. And as a result, you will be able to do something about it and fix it very quickly. We're going to add policy violations. So once you define a security policy in Tufin, segmentation policy, and that policy is not being applied correctly in your Prisma Access, we will highlight all the rules that are not adhering with that policy and we'll show it to you. And today we already support policy push. So for example, what you see in the previous slide, when we suggest a certain change that should apply into Prisma Access, you could literally decide that Tufin will also be the ones that will push it to the firewalls, to the Prisma Access or to Panorama directly from Tufin. You will not need to log into Prisma Access to make the change. You can do it directly from Tufin in an automated manner while keeping everything documented. In 2024, we're going to enhance this capability even further, and you will be able to do a commit policy. Also, it means that you will be able to do it on the fly. You could immediately push it down to the firewalls and not just wait for the change window to come. Later on, we're planning to enhance our suite with Prisma Access Cloud Management support. Today, our Prisma Access is only working from Panorama, and I will ask Pratista to explain the differences between these two tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick note here for those who might not be aware. So Prisma Access today can be managed through two different interfaces. So one is Panorama, and the other interface is Cloud Management. So today, all of the good stuff that Eris talked about is available on the Panorama interface. And we will be working with the product teams in Tufin to bring the same support for cloud management in 2024.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pratista. And I think we're getting to the end. Last slide. Let's summarize what we have just seen in this webinar. We talked about how the network have been evolved and that users, apps, and data is everywhere now. Everywhere, and the office is just another place that it could be, but we could see clearly post the pandemic that everything is now out from the office. All of these created a situation or environment that had the internet as the major access protocol, I would say, that most of the data is traversing to, and as a result, that created SASE and Prisma Access as a standard product within probably all the organizations that we are working with, having a certain SASE vendor that serves it, and Prisma Access is probably the most significant one that we hear from our customers. Hybrid enterprise network grow in complexity because now you don't need to manage just the on-premises and the cloud. You also now need to manage your SASE platform and your private cloud platform. And as Pratista mentioned, there's security there and there is networking there. So SD-WAN or secure gateway and things like that. All of that needs to be managed and created much more complexity to you as network security teams to deal with. And beyond NetSec, we have rules like cloud security and DevSecOps that also handle security, and that created a siloed situation that security is not just being managed by network security, and now other functions managing security, and we need to accommodate that. And the way to accommodate that is through centralized policy management that basically joins all the parties together under a unified and global security policy that everyone are adhering to. What Tufin does, it will provide visibility, insight, and compliance for your hybrid networks. And in the sense of speed and security, we also help you to fully automate network access changes from the on-premises to the cloud or from the cloud to the on-premises or anything in between. All of that could be automated with Tufin. We're now getting into the question section. We have 5 more minutes to complete that. Let's see some questions.
There is an interesting question for you on the Q&A.
Yes, I can see. Does Tufin do policy optimizations for other layers as well, such as QoS, decryption, authentication rules, in addition to layer 3 security? So currently, no, we're focusing mostly on the networking side, the layer 3. We do also layer 7, so applications. For example, if you're using Panorama, next-gen firewalls, and you're using App ID or Content ID or User ID, we're also helping in optimizing these type of things, but we're not in the QoS realm. We're more around the networking side, layer 3. Another question. Can you mitigate multiple rules at once or just one by one? Because because in the demo, in the screenshot, we showed just one rule. The answer is yes. You don't need to just work on one single rule when you start to clean up. You could choose multiple rules. You can use the rule viewer to narrow down all the rules that are of interest that you want to deal with. Mark them all, open a ticket, and treat them as a project and start to clean them up or optimize them together with Tufin.
Awesome. Any other questions, anyone?
Yeah, I think that was a lot of information. I hope that you learned something from it, and I encourage you to read more about our joint solutions and see how you could benefit from it.
There's one more for you.
Oh, okay. What licensing is required to this Tufin integration? So that's a good question. Tufin basically is served out of 3 tiers. We have either Secure Track Plus, Secure Change Plus, or Enterprise tier. And the way that we model that, once you choose the product or the tier that you want to be, the licensing is based on the amount of devices, vendors, for example, Panorama, how many firewalls a certain Panorama is managed. So the quantity of these will dictate how many licenses you will need. So which tier you are and how many devices you want to monitor or automate together with Tufin. You're welcome. Yeah, I think that we can close up here. Oh, I see another one. Sorry. Does Tufin have appliances in cloud services providers such as GCP, Azure, or currently supporting on-premises? So I'm not sure if when you say appliances, you mean like a physical appliances, but Tufin Orchestration Suite could run both as an appliance or as a virtual machine or in the cloud. It doesn't, we support any type of cloud deployments. For example, if you want to put Tufin in AWS or in Azure or in GCP, you can do that. And what will happen, we will monitor all the devices that you have, no matter if they are hardware devices sitting on premises or if they are virtual machines that used as firewalls. We plug with all of them, and no matter where Tufin is deployed. So it will basically cover all of the major cloud providers: GCP, AWS, and Azure. Okay, so I think that we will wrap up here. Pratista, thank you very much for the time. And thank you everyone who joined this webinar. I hope it was informative. And yeah, have a great day.
Yeah, thanks everyone